Hi, my name's James Dean. I'm the CEO and founder of HRC Online, and one of the questions we've been getting asked recently is to give a more updated version of our study tips and some of the approaches that we give to our learners about how to approach the CIPD qualification. So if you're studying the CIPD qualification, this will definitely have benefit to you. If you're studying another assessment-based qualification, then there's definitely going to be things from this that you can take. But in this short mini series, what we're going to do is just go through some really simple tips to help you make the most out of your studying journey, to help you maximize your marks, to help you get the most out of study that you possibly can. And if you are watching this for the first time, please subscribe. This is just a short series of videos that we're going to put together to try and help you navigate the journey of study, because we understand that sometimes it can be really high pressured. You're studying, you're working, you've got pressure from home, life, everything like that. So how do we put together some advice to help you make the most out of that small window of study opportunity that you've got? And that's kind of what this series is going to focus on. So I'm going to go through some of the more common things that we see, some of the more uncommon things that we see, and some of the things that you may not even be aware of in terms of how to approach it and stuff like that. So this episode is going to focus on verbs. One of the biggest areas of error we see in learners is they misunderstand the directive verb that's given. And it leads to completely the wrong set of answers. It leads to completely the wrong answering of the question, and something which you probably already understand, you've written about, but you've not addressed the verb correctly. So for this, I'm going to go to the CIPD Level 5 assessment, which is 5001. That's its code, and it's got a particular question, which is AC 2.5. For those not familiar or not enrolled on a course yet, basically CIPD have codes for their units, and then they have these things called assessment criteria for their questions. So AC 2.5 is question 2.5. And the question is, assess the importance of well-being at work and the different factors which impact well-being. Now, what we normally see in this type of situation, if someone hasn't addressed the verb, is they've just gone straight to explain. It's the go-to response, and I think it's probably something we've learned from at school. Some of the more standardized answers, which you would always just try and explain your answer. You would always try and explain what your thinking is and everything like that. And you're trained to try and explain what it is, but that's not what you've been asked to do. So here you've been asked to assess. And if you're explaining the importance of well-being at work and the different factors, you're not assessing it. You're not evaluating it. You're not telling us what is good, what is bad, what is indifferent. You're not doing what's been described in the task. So just for clarity, assess to make a judgment about the nature or quality of something. So what they're asking you in this question is to make a judgment. And how do you make a judgment? You make a judgment with evidence. You make a judgment with information. So you've got to analyze, you've got to assess information to answer the question. So if we just try a bit of a reframing on the question, which is make a judgment on the importance of well-being and make a judgment on the different factors which impact well-being, you explaining why well-being is important, and you explaining what the impact of different factors that impact isn't a judgment. It isn't considering both sides of the argument. It's not using empirical data to prove your point. You've just explained verbatim what you understand well-being and the different factors to be. And this is one of the most common errors. I guarantee you pretty much anyone who studies this at some point in time will misread a verb, not address the verb correctly, and refer on a paper. And by refer, I mean you get a grade 1 and then you get feedback and you get to resubmit. It's not the be all and end all of the world, but it is one of the most common errors we see. So one of the things we always recommend is that people we've got a cheat list of verbs. You can find it on our link tree. I think it's in the description. So you can download that. You can have a list of verbs in front of you at all times. What are they asking you to do? If it's critical evaluation, it's pros and cons. If it's this, if it's this, if it's this. But misreading of the verb is probably the most common error that people make. It's probably one of the things that I think really sort of frustrates people because they're like, oh, I thought I understood it, and then you've got the verb wrong, and you might have got the question right and your information might be right, but if you don't address the verb, you're not addressing the component parts of the question. So again, just going back, if you're assessing the importance of well-being at work, which is and the different factors, which is the question, then you're breaking it down, you're evaluating, you're making a judgment on. So if you want to look at the importance of well-being at work, well, well-being at work is really important because the research that I've found says this, happy workforce, blah, 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 blah. And then now the different factors that impact well-being, well, actually, when we look at this information and this survey and this empirical evidence from CIPD, we can actually see that these are some of the main things that impact that. And this is how we should be this is why it's important, and linking it back and evaluating the whole thing together, as opposed to just saying, these are the different factors, this is what it is. You've assessed the data and the empirical evidence. It's an evidence-based request when you get the word assess. So hopefully that helps. Like I said, this is going to be a short series of small things. So make sure that you tune into the next one where we're going to go into a different area. If you are new here, please like, subscribe, follow channel, that sort of thing. Thank you very much. We'll catch you on the next one.